Indie games have absolutely taken over the gaming industry, especially in 2024, and today we're diving into the world of indie games and showcasing 10 upcoming indie games that are sure to leave, your pockets a little bit empty. But these games have quite captivating storytelling and innovative gameplay as well. So these indie games are not to be missed and is definitely something for you guys to look out for. Starting with the first banger on the list, we got Dragon's Eclipse. Now, for anyone who's been on the channel for some time will know that I have a very soft, deep spot for deck building games. I love games like Magic the Gathering, Hearthstone, and Yu-Gi-Oh! And I love when the dev teams developed games around cards and building the best deck that you could possibly get. And now a new indie game, roguelite deck building game, is coming to early access. And the best way to think about this game is a mix of Slay the Spire meets Balatro and as well as Monster Train. Indie studio Awakened Realms brings us Dragon Eclipse. In Dragon Eclipse, we must choose our tamer, which think of the tamer as something that is similar to a Planeswalker in Magic the Gathering or your heroes in Hearthstone. Picking a tamer will pretty much dictate what starting deck you will begin with, and the mistlings, which are the creatures in this world, can also be tamed, and they also have unique stats to them and different abilities, and you can pretty much see if you want, you can help them train and evolve them so they can gain newer abilities to deal better card combos, therefore creating a powerful deck that can also pair up well with a mistling, which will help you win any battle. If you guys do want to try it out, it definitely will be releasing early access as of June 24th 2024, so not even a day from when point of me recording this video. So next we have Eclipse Breaker, a innovative turn-based combat indie game developed by indie team Lunar Workshop, and they have created a demo that allows players to try out their roguelike turn-based RPG and with a combat system that relies on the player's stamina. You can only use abilities when stamina is full, but once that drains, you must play defense to regain it back. The combat is a bit of a mix of turn-based and real-time action fighting as well, but you can also add extra damage to your attack by pressing the trigger button, which is almost like a timed attack when you're going for it, which allows you to deal more damage. Therefore, you can also block and parry, which takes some getting used to, especially with the multiple enemies that are attacking almost at a random amount of time. And after each battle, you can attach Prima or Prima, whichever way you want to pronounce that, which is this game's way of helping players improve their current run. And you can attach the Prima to any of your abilities to further improve them. But like most roguelike, you'll be going floor to floor with enemies increasing in difficulty per floor. Therefore, when you die, you reach a hub menu that allows you to upgrade your character for more runs, while improving your health and buying the training tickets during your time fighting. You have pretty much a basic attack, a special attack, a utility spell, and as well as an ultimate. Due to the hybrid nature of the game combat, you actually need to use a lot of positioning because that plays quite a vital role into your survival and as well as parrying attacks. What would you do if you could meet an alternate version of yourself? That is an interesting question, and honestly a very deep question. Like creating alternate versions of yourself who made different decisions than what you chose. I think personally it'll open up a brand new light or answer questions to a lot of people. Shit, I know damn well I'll be hella confused wanting to learn more about different timelines of my own life. But the current theme is what's in question in this current demo that I actually got to play during the Steam's Next Fest, which is called The Altars. Now, you play as Jan, a space marine who gets stranded on a random dangerous planet that is planned to be destroyed in a week's time, and you must create alternate versions of yourself in order to survive. Now, that does sound like a crazy ass concept, but 11-Bit Studios, an indie dev team, thrives to give players an immersive survival experience. The short demo I got to play gave me a hell of a ride during my time playing. Everything about this game is absolute cinema. I got a blend of so many games while playing, but still with 11-Bit Studios' own spin on that game. Death Stranding was honestly quite the easiest inspiration that I received immediately once I started playing. I have got especially the environment and how most of the game plays with the heavy survival aspects behind the game. This game has a great future ahead of itself, and I'm just genuinely in love with how the game has that psychological nature to it. It is set to release later this year, and I really can't wait to get my hands on it. So I definitely want to hear what you guys think about this game. Like, let me know in the comment section below. Like, playing the game really threw me for a loop for sure. Now, this is one of the 2 Kickstarter games that I have on this list, and this one is absolutely a banger, and it's Trench Tales, a brutal third-person shooter horror game that is set in a dark, alternative world inspired by the aesthetics of World War I and World War II. Even though the game feels like an adrenaline pumping game, the story itself is going to be a heavy narrative driven to help further the lore of an alternative universe and the events of both world wars. With multiple biomes, a central hub area with combat needing to be more guns blazing or a bit more subtle and strategic, but the amount of weapons you will come across and the gore this game offers, it really does fit the gothic aesthetic. The team is going for they're going for a gothic aesthetic. But therefore, Trench Tales is fully backed. It's already a goal for all the content that the team actually wanted to get done. And I can't wait to watch the process of this game for the next year. It is set to release sometime of March of 2025. Hopefully, they can definitely make that deadline. But if they do need to push the game, that also is perfectly fine. I did look a little bit on the Kickstarter. And one thing about it, this game is being created by a single developer who calls this more than just a project. It is overall a love and compassion and just having overall freedom of creativity for this game. Flintlock Siege of Dawn is starting to be my most anticipated Souls-light this year. Steam Netflix is here, and man, did we get some absolute games dropping, but the game I was not expecting to get a shadow drop of a demo, and hell, I wasn't even expecting it to release this year at all. A44 Games is an indie studio, and the devs posted a lot of clips throughout last year showcasing bits and pieces of Flintlock Siege of Dawn. The combat alone is what actually sold me a year ago. Now, I did say this game is a Souls-light, so it uses some aspects from Souls games, but it borrows from other games as well, being a more linear-based game with a semi-open world to explore and fight more enemies and gain more loot as well. Indie Studios is absolutely, like I said, absolutely cooking this year and just proving they can hold their ground with these bigger budget games. But I did get to spend some time playing the demo for Flintlock Siege at Dawn, and for anyone who's looking for a challenge but not super heavy into being a full Souls-like game, this is definitely the game to play. What's also pretty cool, it has a couple of cool features like a multiplier for getting more XP, making it more arcadey. But, you know, and the entire map's not really super Metroidvania-like, so not every game has to be super interconnected. It feels more linear with a side bit of exploration. But A44 Games chose to go with the semi-open route to keep the game and the feel of the atmosphere just more alive, instead of just trying to go into more of a heavy open world title. You also get a cute companion named Enki, and he's a god, and he's also a badass, and I love when he tag teams with your character to do other combos. But Flintlock Siege of Dawn is set to release July 18th, 2024, so I definitely can't wait for that game to fully release. I need to run ones back with a couple of those bosses, and I actually want to be able to beat the game as well. And with that, we reached our second and last Kickstarter indie game on this list, and is Alzara Radiant Echoes. And the best thing to sum this game up is that it is a heavy mix of Golden Sun and Final Fantasy X. If anything can be outright, it could be outright a spiritual successor to Golden Sun, a story that is set in the Mediterranean Sea, and the world is full of magic as you can use the elements to your control, but use the power to help liberate your home from an incoming invasion. This JRPG is super anticipated, even receiving the help from legendary Motoi Sakuraba. Sakuraba, there we go, the composer for the Tales of series, Golden Sun, and even Dark Souls. This is to help with the entire soundtrack, and as well they get the legendary illustrator Yoshiro Ambe, who helped illustrate for Trials of Mana, Fire Emblem, and as well as Genshin Impact. Ozera has a lot going on for it, and I'm even excited to see how the combat plays out. And since it uses a mechanic called swap, which allows you to swap members to do some strong as hell moves. It also comes with a basic element affinity system, which is also in play. Every character has a specific element to affinity to them, and if you pair them up and go up against a specific enemy that is weaker to the element, they can deal more damage. And if they are paired up against a stronger element, they will receive more damage. So overall, it's a balancing act to make sure you got your party and team well scouted and make sure that your strategies are in place. But right now, this game has already well over exceeded to be exact, their budget goal that they were looking for, and they can pretty much do a lot of stuff, and they're hoping for like a 2026 release date when I was checking it out. The Summer Games Fest was full of indie titles, and one that stood out a bit was the new 8-player co-op zombie survival game, No More Room in Hell 2. Now, this is a permadeath action horror experience given to us by Torn Banner Studios. It is set to release in October, which fits the Halloween spooky vibes and a great release period for horror games. Taking place in one map, up to 8 different players can fight against the horde, and what's pretty cool is that the zombie AI is rather smart and pretty much will react to literally anything you do. Now, I'm a bit used to the permadeath systems zombie aspect in games thanks to State of Decay 2, as when you die you lose that NPC, and I feel like something similar will happen in this game. There is even different zombie variant types, which makes surviving that much harder, but the main purpose of this game is to do your runs, any of the missions needed, and then you extract with the crew, rinse and repeat. Next, we have Hyperlight Breaker. Being a successor to Hyperlight Drifter, players will now hop into Hyperlight Breaker with a 3D co-op roguelike system. The game is centered around an extraction roguelike, and your main goal is to beat the Abyss King, but in order to do that, you have a series of boss rushes on one run. There's also a lot of ways like being able to parkour, use a hoverboard. Like, this game looks overall great. I did cover the game a while back, and ever since I did, I've been eagerly waiting to see more. I want to actually get it in my hands to be able to play it. The visuals look look stunning. I like that cartoon pastel look to it, that futuristic vibe, if I'm like cyberpunk-ish synthwave type of vibe that I get from the game. And overall, the combat just seems as fast-paced as ever, like a little bit of like Risk of Rain 2 and a couple other games very similar to it. So it's not something that is super outright crazy, but I would definitely like to have fun with the combat. So next we have Unknown 9, which is another visually appealing game that has quite interesting yet fun-looking combat. By using your fold powers, fold them like an omelet actually, you can possess enemy spirits, you can dodge attacks, and even become a spell slinger with the magic. The game is set in the 19th century Portugal, and the way they made this game, it feels like you've been transported to real life Portugal, and that just makes me feel, I like when games are set in like real life set pieces and you can just see how well these artists have really put time into these type of games. The story of Unknown 9 universe is actually connected to the other IP that I found on their website for the entire universe. So it's connected to the comic books, the scripted podcasts, and even the novels that the team has made over the course of whatever time. Now, I do not know if you need to be well versed in the other like IPs, which I would assume not, to try to make the game a little bit more new player friendly, or at least easily accessible for new players to get in, and hopefully put it in a way that allows people to get more interested into the overall universe so that they can actually indulge themselves in the rest of the stuff that you have made, like the comic books, X, Y, and Z. So definitely this is another banger that I can't wait to get my hands on. The combat looks fun, and the story alone looks quite interesting, and I would like to indulge myself into the world. And another horror game on this list, and it's being created by the creator of Silent Hill. At the Summers Games Fest, we got a chance to see some small little bit of gameplay of what players can expect in this new horror game. Essentially, you play as a form of a parasite, and we can control and become hosts and random citizens. We use them to actually combat against whatever evil we coming up against. Slitterhead has this very gory, visceral style of combat, with it combat focusing more on the action RPG element with a parry system as well. This game does have a release date of November 8th, so we get to see the overall vision of the GOAT that created Silent Hill. But each of these games, I'm actually excited to see them release when they do, and I feel that each of these games has a chance to shape the gaming industry in their very own ways. As the days go on, gamers will now find better time and feel like gaming is going back to the good old days and not needing to worry about shitty corporate practices, microtransactions, and many more dumb shit that comes with the current AAA games now. Overpriced, the price to content is nowhere near good or as full of quality as it should, especially for how much money they put into these games. But at the same time, some of these indie games have been putting out so much with that it's better just to play better. It's better to play indie games at this point. But with that being said, I want you guys to check out the video that's right here if you want to try out a new indie game, if you want to play it. I highly suggest it though. But as always, stay safe out there. It's been your host, KSDTV, here at Chaotic Inc., signing out. Peace.